I'm a publisher, and one day my daughter Christina asked me to write a novel with her. Well, that day was long ago, and that little girl is now an adult. But our novels live on. The Truth Seekers Mystery Series highlights a homeschool family, the Murphy teens, in an action-adventure novel that is sure to entertain as well as teach creation truths. To get your copy, visit our website at truthseekersmysteryseries.com.
This is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. Welcome to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Your host, Felice Gerwitz, is an author, a publisher, and your radio show host. She will encourage, educate, and inspire you with answers to your most pressing questions from homeschool, marriage, parenting, and much more. Felice loves to equip moms to live a Christian life because every moment counts. Be sure to visit her website at mediaangels.com. And here's your host, Felice Gerwitz.
Hey friends, welcome to this episode. My name is Felice Gerwitz, and today we're going to talk about holiday road trips. This is episode 455. Well, are you packed and ready for a holiday road trip? Whether you're heading to grandma's house or somewhere that's in a different state, maybe a few hours away, or to another country, these holiday tips will save you time and money. Be sure to visit my Media Angels website for deep discounts, and that's mediaangels.com, and be sure to get on our mailing list at the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network. You can find the subscribe button there, and that's how you know about all of our discounts that are for our email subscribers, and you get notification first, many times weeks before it goes out into the public. And you don't want to miss our free giveaways. We have something for our subscribers each month. Currently, they are character planners, but they change from time to time. So again, be sure you're on that mailing list. And after that item is no longer available, I usually put it on my Media Angels website. So if you have missed our almost 2 years of planners, you can find those on our main website. Well, we talked about the most wonderful time of the year, and that tends to be filled with stress and anxiety. If you missed episode 454, you may want to catch that. But as we prepare not only to decorate our homes and create some holiday family traditions, some of you are going to be packing up and heading out of town to celebrate the holidays somewhere else. And when we think about road trips, we remember asking our parents, are we there yet? Or after 20 minutes in the car, we're hungry, or whatever that is, or I have to go to the bathroom. And a lot of our complaining came because we are bored. And today, with built-in audio systems or audiobooks or videos, the trips can go so much more quickly. And we can easily keep our kids entertained. But there's more to keeping them entertained and engaged, especially if you want to create some family bonds and make some fond memories. And so I'm going to share with you some things that are must-haves for traveling with kids, because we did this for many, many years, as well as planning for trips in general. So there are many reasons people plan holiday trips. Some are to visit family and friends. Others are because they have vacation time with the family. I had one friend who always left either the evening of Christmas because they celebrated it themselves in their own home, and then they would, come to Florida for a couple of weeks, or they actually went to a location as a family vacation for Christmas. And another was a cousin of mine whose husband died, and so from then on, she and her family did Christmas somewhere else. So they planned a trip because it was too sad for her to stay home and celebrate the holidays at home. It was too many memories for her, especially at the beginning, and her kids were older. So whenever you plan a trip, it can be for whatever reason, but it's important, especially if you're traveling with little ones, to have the right tools. The first is to plan ahead whenever possible. This means having someone that is going to take care of your home if you're going to be gone for an extended period of time, or if you have pets, that need to be cared for, or pipes that might freeze. You may need to leave some water running and have someone checking on that for you. But also making a plan for the things in your home, because we're so, focused on, for me anyway, the ultimate goal of getting there and getting suitcases packed and things like that, that one year I forgot I had all of these perishable foods that I need to get rid of or throw in the freezer. A lot of things I could just throw in the freezer and use later. But it means planning ahead for whatever you are going to do and within the time frame that you need. One year we were going up north and my kids didn't have big winter jackets. So I asked my sister-in-law and said, do you have extra things? And she said, oh my gosh, I have tons of extra jackets and mittens and hats and things like that, and you can borrow them. So I really only needed to purchase warmer clothes for 2 of my children. So here's a quick little list for you for planning ahead. And the first is, and this is all on the show notes page if you want to just listen and go back and grab that later. And you can find the show notes on the website. And so that is episode 455, Holiday Road Trips at VintageHomeschoolMoms.com. All right. So the first is making provisions for your home and your pets. The second is to plan appropriate clothing depending on the climate. Again, borrow whenever you can. Even think about, visiting some thrift stores whenever you get to wherever that is, if you need things that may be difficult to buy. The third is, are you driving or flying? Sometimes, and I have found that when there's 2 or more people, it's actually less expensive to drive, but do you have enough time? If it's just one person, sometimes only 2, it might be cheaper to fly. There are websites where you can even put alerts if you want to see if you can get ticket prices down, for example, on flights. So, again, the earlier you book your trip, the, earlier you're going to get the better prices and things like that. Certain holiday times are going to be more expensive, and there's really nothing you can do about that. So, again, that might be a reason to plan to drive. And if you're going somewhere where it's cold, of course, then make sure you have the proper tires and so forth. The fourth is planning a wardrobe. And one of the things I learned from a friend who traveled a lot was to have even the kids, if possible, be able to rewear some things such as jeans or leggings and pair them with other things that look like a new outfit. It's harder with little kids who seem to get every single item of clothing dirty without even trying, right? But you can do that for certain items. And then suitcases and carry-on if you're flying, ask around. You can borrow things, especially if this is not something that you do often. If you don't want to invest in luggage, which can be expensive. And so you can, look at that and, ask around, because my suitcases, I always laughingly joke that my suitcases have been more places than I have. I've loaned them out quite a bit. If you're driving, perhaps planning a road trip, this can really be a time of bonding as a family. I remember so many great family memories. Back in the day before audiobooks, I remember having a microphone that amplified my voice. Those kids' microphones that we buy and then think, why the heck did we buy this? Because who really wants to amplify a child's voice that's not singing and just yelling into this microphone? But it really was handy when we went on road trips, because I didn't have to talk so loud and I could hold a microphone and read. And a lot of times we would read books. Some of them were our school books. Others were books that were just fun on our trips, and the kids loved it. And it really took, time as a family that we were bonding. And, audiobooks are fabulous, of course. But this also brings, parent involvement. One time I remember taking just a little day trip with the family during a very busy and hectic time of the year. And it was a way for us to just get away for the day and do something fun as a family, because we were going to be, having time where, everything was going to be at our house and super busy. And so we went to a science museum that we had passed so many different times and never made time to visit. And this became one of our family favorites for years. We went to state parks for picnics and had nature walks. You can do this even if you're planning an extended, trip by car, again, if you're leaving enough time, and, being sure to be able to stop and enjoy the trip. One year on the first weekend of December, we took a camping trip where we met an elderly couple that took us on a night walk. We had never in our lives been on a night walk by the full moon with no flashlights. They didn't allow us to have flashlights. But because of the full moon and the stars, we were able to see where we were going. And of course, we had flashlights just in case. And it was just gorgeous. Both of these people were artists. And so they were showing the children, the different lights coming through the trees. And it was really a very special and unforgettable time. And we talk about that. It also sets a stage for the busy holiday. One of our podcasters, did a show one time on how they always got away a weekend before the holiday season began to bond as a couple. And so, whatever that is for your family, make that time and that effort. And then that really helps. So even if you're taking this long trip, you're going to be in a good frame of mind to be together. So try to think of family trips not only as an end to the destination you're going to, but also to create the family memories that are special. And again, that the kids will talk about and remember fondly over the years. Of course, some of the stories get more and more embellished as time goes on. And again, less is more, because I'm talking, to the choir here. Most of you are overachievers, but especially myself, because we can overplan. So here's a quick list of things that can help you if you're planning a trip by car. The first is plan to stop. And I know that so many times we just want to get to that end destination. I actually have a husband that loves to stop. If there's a scenic view, he's going to be pulling over. Sometimes we have to curtail Dad's stops at scenic views or we'll never get anywhere. But at least there's a balance there, right? Between going somewhere and actually enjoying the trip. If you can map out the rest stations, that is an amazing and wonderful help. And I think there used to be an app that had those, but they're on a lot of the driving apps. They will have those on there. The second is car activity. Some kids get car sick and cannot look down, so videos are out, or handheld devices. But an activity such as matching license plates with the state map is fun, and the kids can tally each state that they see on their license plate. We used to use clipboards, and we would keep them in the car for every time we were in the car. Of course, there's audiobooks such as Adventures in Odyssey, and so many other ones that are, family favorites out there. You can have a library subscription and, kind of check out audiobooks, even books that the kids can read on their tablets. And of course, there are videos on devices, but I like to keep the video to a minimum. If you're going long distance, consider printing out a state map with the routes so that the kids can follow along. One year, I got very ambitious, and we went from Florida to Georgia. And I had all of these small towns, so when we were going through the towns, the kids could check them off the list, and they got really excited and were paying attention to where we were going. And that kept them from asking, are we there yet? So of course, you're going to have all kinds of things like snacks for the kids and, packing lunch if you're going to stop. Those are pretty much givens, and, whatever else you want to take on this trip for your ultimate destination. We loved packing food because that was so much easier than stopping. And if we were going to be doing an overnight trip and we're stopping at a hotel, we would make that be our final meal. We would, go out and get something quick. But those are all things that are, I believe, helpful if you are going by car. Now, if you are going to be flying, a couple of things: leave early enough to get to the airport. An hour and a half is normally early enough. I know it says 2 hours, but then you're going to be there 2 hours with kids. So you may want to consider that. If you're parking your car, depending on where you are, it can take a longer time in extended parking to get to the airport than you expect, or have someone take you to save money. Carry-ons for the kids should be backpacks with things the kids can do. And of course, that's a given if you're traveling by car. But the kids can put things in there that they would like to do. And I like to have things like, simple mazes or puzzles. One year, I talk about over the top, I bought a rock collection and wrapped up the rocks in tissue paper and gave the kids each a marble bag. And I think each of them had, 6 or 8 rocks in there. And I also gave them a tiny little book on rock identification. So after they were done with identifying the rocks they had, then they passed them on to their sibling. And this kept him so busy for a 2-hour flight, and an older gentleman on the other side of the aisle was so fascinated that the kids had to share their rocks with him, and he thought it was like the greatest thing ever. Another thing is, if you're flying, is to pack something where the kids can swallow more often, like, bring an empty water bottle because there's places to fill up water. If you want like hard candy or gum or something that is going to cause them to swallow, because a lot of times kids are crying because they can't equalize the pressure in their ears. And that's something you can practice with them, like during the summer when they're swimming, have them go underwater, hold their nose and blow gently. You don't want them to blow really hard, and just share with them, this is what you do if you're on a plane, so that they can experience that. You can do that in the tub even, with the little ones. Snacks are always a good idea. You can bring food through security. It just needs to be in clear bags. And you can also buy food once you're through security. Audios are a good idea. Be sure to download them ahead of time, because the streaming costs a lot of money on airplanes. And even if it is available for free, it's like slow boat to China. So you really don't want to use the streaming service. So an audiobook or music works well because it's hard to read to kids on an airplane because of the noise. And there is entertainment that is on airplanes, but even when I've looked at some of the children's selections, they are not anything I really want my kids to watch. So if you want them to, have something to do on the plane, something you can download ahead of time. Books are always a good idea. If your child's a reader, a new book before you go on a trip is always something that's exciting. If you are flying, you may consider doing something different for gifts, such as gift cards, or, having your gifts shipped to that location, and then you can even have your, family set them aside and then wrap them when you get there. So that is always helpful. But whatever you do, make this time special. Stop and enjoy the moment. And, let your kids know that what is expected. I remember going into some of the stores and just saying, hey, we're going to go in and look, and we are not buying. Or you give your kids a budget. We can go in here and you have up to $2 to spend. So there are expectations, and they're not expecting more than what you're going to do. Well, I pray that you have a wonderful time with your family, no matter where you are going on this road trip, and that it is a tremendous blessing to you. And I thank God for all of you, because you have helped me tremendously throughout these years by sharing my podcast with a friend and giving me a star rating on your mobile device. And if you haven't done that yet, please consider doing that. So take care, everyone. God bless, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Visit Felice at MediaAngels.com and TheVintageHomeschoolMoms.com. Vintage Homeschool Moms is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.